It's funny. One of my sponsors, I didn't start when I was a co-angler wearing a cowboy hat, just because I was like, I'm not wearing a cowboy hat while I'm fishing, on the boat and stuff like that. But a guy I met there, one of my future sponsors, like he was going to sponsor me, and he said, "Hey Joey, why aren't you wearing your cowboy hat like that? That's pretty cool. Like you should wear that while you're fishing." And so I thought about it, and so that's why I started wearing a cowboy hat.
That's awesome. Hey guys, and welcome to the last episode of the Hunter Fishes Podcast, Season 1, Episode 8. Thank y'all for joining us. We have Mr. Joey Cifuentes, the cowboy, here with us today. Joey, thank you for coming.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man.
Man, glad to have you on here. We've known each other a while just through the tournament world locally, but had never really had a long, in-depth conversation, so ready to learn a little bit about you.
Yeah, this is fun. When you called me and asked me to be on this podcast, I was really excited, so pretty cool.
Man, first, congratulations on your elite win a few weeks ago. I know that's a big deal. Tell me, what did that feel like?
It's something that I've been wanting to win a big tournament for a while. I've been close, if anybody's followed me, or it's just been something that I really wanted to do. And once I got in that position in the Elite Series, it happened really fast, but it's just a dream come true, man. I mean, since I started fishing bass tournaments and got on the professional level, like it's just wanted to get that real big win, So it's awesome. I mean, it's been crazy, but I love it. I want to win another one. It makes you want to win another one.
Does it make you feel good to know you can?
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like as a professional angler, you want people to respect you or like know that you can do this. That you're competitive and like you can win at that level. And so going into the Elite Series was. I'm the first event on Okeechobee, I was like, okay, can I compete with these guys? Like, everybody hears about like this is Bassmaster Elite Series. I mean, there's a lot of pressure there. Like, can you compete? And so, that first tournament, I made a top 20. I think I finished 14th or something like that. And so I mean, it just gives you it feels like you've got some more respect amongst your competitors and the guys in there. Like, hey, Joey, he can catch some fish. Like, he's pretty good. And so it just made me feel good. Gives you a lot of confidence.
Obviously, for those that follow the fishing world, like you made it through the opens, and that's not an easy. Like you got to be able to catch some fish to even get to the Elite Series. I mean, everybody makes it through the opens,
right?
But tell me a little bit about that. I mean, that's a gauntlet.
Yeah, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, I fished the Bassmaster Opens. I fished the Centrals, which I can't remember exactly what lakes it was, but it was my first time fishing the Opens, and I just remember it being kind of it wasn't a bad experience, but like it was rough because I mean we were on some smaller lakes that year, and I mean those guys out there are ruthless. like you got local guys trying to make the classic and stuff like that. So it was really tough. I didn't do any good at all. So a couple years down the road, I didn't fish the Opens, and then that last year I got in them and fished the Southerns, and so it was just you that first day like it. I think I was on Lake Toho. I weighed 29 pounds, almost won that tournament, got second place. Brandon Lester beat me, and then. The next tournament, I was fishing on Cherokee, made a top 20 there, catching smallmouth, something I like to do. So everything just kind of lined up perfect for the way I like to fish, and finished up on Hartwell and, barely caught enough fish to get in there, end up finished third in the point. So, but it was cool.
And to do it in 3, and I know several made it in 9, but to do it in 3 is man, that's tough. Bryant Schmidt, he's an NPFL guy. Fished with him last couple of years, but he did it too last year through the Southerns and
now it's even tougher because you have to fish all 9.
Right.
So there was that pressure too. Like, hey, this is like the last year, to make it a little bit easier to get in there. We only have to fish that one division, and so like there was a little bit of extra pressure on me there. Once I was leading the points, I led the points through the whole season. So it was tough, but it was fun.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Did you have the elites on your mind when you started?
Yeah, absolutely. I did. That was the goal. The goal was to make the Elite Series. I started fishing about 5 years ago on the FLW Tour, and then it kind of, they had the transition to MLF and a lot of switching. They made the Bass Pro Tour, and like I felt like the tour that I was on kind of took a step down, and it was continuing to kind of go down as far as payouts and stuff. And they got to do what they have to do for business wise. I get it, but I just felt like I didn't qualify to make the BPT Tour. I wasn't in the top 10. So I wanted to try and fish those opens and get an elite series. I just think it's a great organization, but it's like where everything started. So like if a man could get there, like it's just a premier fishing league, and to me to be in if you can. I know it's hard and not everybody can do that, but it was just something I had a goal to set and I wanted to achieve. So
it's definitely the top. I think in everybody's mind, even
yeah.
I mean, NPFL they tell you the elites is the top. I mean, everybody does. It's definitely the toughest, I think, out there.
Yeah, I mean, just when I made the elites, like the amount of fans that like contacted me, like, "Hey Joey, I'm gonna follow you." It was just unreal. It's like I never had just for making the elite series. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that fan base that Bassmaster has is just really cool. There's nothing like it.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
And you got to take your road buddy along with you, which was really neat. That Larry got to go.
Yeah. So Larry was. He was trying to get out of where he was at too, and so it just worked out where one of the Legends exemption guys, I think, came out, and there was a spot available, and he was in a line actually with a couple other guys that were ahead of him, but it just ended up where he got in there, so it was great. Yeah, so we got to travel together.
That's awesome. How has it been? I mean, so a little bit of your history. You traveled with Larry.
Yeah.
You were a co-angler for several years, isn't that correct?
Yeah, 3 years. Yeah, I started my first year traveling with Larry. It was the Ever Start series. I don't know if you remember that series. I fished as a co-angler on that, and it was Toledo Bend, or it was Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend, and then something happened. We had to go back to Sam Rayburn again, and I ended up almost won the points. I think I missed it by 1 point as a co-angler, and I won the last tournament. And so I was like, Larry was like, "Joe, you need to go to the FLW Tour and do this with me as a co-angler in the back." So I qualified through that, and I did the FLW Tour for 2 years, and I think top 10 the points both years, and I ended up winning a tournament on Beaver Lake up in Northwest Arkansas. So yeah.
And you practiced with Larry every day when you traveled, right? Is that correct? Like when you'd get to practice with Larry Nixon.
Yeah, I practiced with Larry Nixon like 95% of the time. At the time, Tommy Martin, I'm sure you've heard of him. I mean, he's a legend, and he would travel with us too some, so I got to fish with Tommy in the back of the boat also a little bit.
That's legend. Learning from legends.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Were you a tournament guy before you started kind of running around with Larry, or did that kind of get you into it? Or
so, man, my goal like in my life was to be a professional baseball player. I wasn't into bass fishing, tournaments, anything like that. So I live in Florida, and when I was 16, I moved to Arkansas, and I started going to high school and met a good friend of mine that lives. I went to graduated my senior high school year with a guy named Logan, and he was into bass tournaments. That's how I met Larry, through his dad. And so we fished like 3 tournaments a week, all the night tournaments on Greer's Ferry, and that's kind of how I fell in love with fishing. And then went to college. When I got done with my baseball career, I was kind of like, what do I do now? And I was going to go to physical therapy school, and I had an extra year. So Larry contacted me. We were buddies, kind of like, hey, you want to do this? You want to try it? And so, I talked it over with my family, and they're like, yeah, go give it a shot. I mean, how many people have the opportunity to say they get to go fish some tournaments with Larry Nixon?
Right,
And I just went into it as a learning deal. Wasn't trying to didn't think about being a professional fisherman, honestly. Like, just wanted to take the opportunity because I had it. And so that's kind of like, that's really what got me going, was when I figured out, like, hey, I won a tournament as a co-angler, and then I won another one. I'm like, okay, I might be able to like actually try and do this for a living, like, work my way up. So that's how it started.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It just snowballed from there.
Yeah, it just snowballed from there, and the Lord's blessed me, and I just kept going,
Right. So how does the Florida baseball player end up wearing a cowboy hat? And like, it's not just, I mean, you're the cowboy. To the fishing fans, you're Cowboy Joey Cifuentes.
Yeah. So I actually, when I lived in Florida, I grew up in the rural area of Florida. I didn't live in the city. And so we lived on about a 40-acre little farm right there. We had cows, horses. My sister rode horses. We did some roping and stuff like that, whatever, and just some cowboying, if you will. And then when I moved to Arkansas, same thing. Just I have a cattle farm. I raise beef cattle. Always been around livestock my whole life, and it's just something I like to do. So it's funny, one of my sponsors, I didn't start when I was a co-angler wearing a cowboy hat, just because I was like, I'm not wearing a cowboy hat while I'm fishing, on the boat and stuff like that. But a guy I met there, one of my future sponsors, like, he was going to sponsor me, and he said, hey, Joey, why aren't you wearing your cowboy hat like that? That's pretty cool. Like, you should wear that while you're fishing. And so I thought about it, and so that's why I started wearing a cowboy hat.
That's awesome.
So
it's who you are. I mean, it's not a persona. I mean,
no.
It's
I actually walked in to meet him, and I had a cowboy hat on, and he's like, why aren't you wearing your hat while you're fishing? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, it's something I wear all the time around the farm, and I mean, it's not just something I put on my head for more likes or clicks or whatever. No, it's me.
But it sets you apart. I mean, it does.
Yeah, it does.
That something.
Yeah, there's nobody else out there that wears a cowboy hat that's fishing in professionally that I'm aware of. It's fine. I don't care. It's just what I do. So
right. That's awesome. What we talked a little bit on the phone yesterday about you're leaving here before long for a few weeks. Got the family at home.
Yeah.
Who's the family?
So my wife Gwen, we have two daughters. One of them is Jovi. She's 1.5 years old, and another one that's Stella, and she's 4. So we got two little girls, and they're a handful.
Man, I've got a 22-month-old and a 4-month-old little girl, both of them. So
wow.
I know the feeling.
Yeah,
they're definitely a handful.
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
So talk about that. Do they ever travel with you, or they stay home?
Yeah, they stay home. My wife's a teacher, so towards the end of the season, they'll try and come up to, like, when we go to Champlain, St. Lawrence River, some of those events up there up north. They'll come and actually, now that my career's kind of taken off, my wife's going to leave her job, and they're going to start traveling with me more to more tournaments, which I'm really looking forward to. Just to have them there with me, and I don't want to. That's the hard part about being a professional fisherman or any job where you're traveling that much is is being away from your family and those girls, because there's how time flies, and there's those moments I don't want to miss as many as I can. So but
that for sure, man. I come in, my girls are with me, and it's Kinley, my oldest. She's a mama's girl, pretty bad, but we went to Pickwick a few weeks ago, and I don't know what changed like that week. But, you're gone like 12, 13, 14 hours a day and come in at night, and it's just like, daddy, daddy, daddy. And I can't imagine, if I had to leave them every time. I understand it happens, but I can't imagine if all year I knew that I'd have to, just leave them. So it's you'll really enjoy that. It's awesome when you come in and they're there at night.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
That makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely.
A little more like home.
Yeah.
It's been covered, I'm sure, on a million podcasts. Talk to me a little bit about how you won the Elite.
So, Lake Seminole, I had a little bit of history there. I fished a Toyota Series event on Seminole with my dad as a co-angler, and an FLW Tour event. I think Brandon Latimer won or something back in 19. Did terrible in that tour event, but I got to see the lake for the first time. Good learning experience. The Toyota Series event, me and my dad fished. I finished 5th place. My dad almost won. He got 2nd place as a co-angler. And I really figured out, like, the right place, I thought, to fish in that lake on that tournament. And so, man, I just kind of took some of that knowledge, went to the lake. The weather was a little cold. We had a cold front. Didn't think a lot of fish. I knew there was still going to be a lot of pre-spawn fish. So I got out there in the timber in Spring Creek and got on, tried a bunch of different stretches, but ended up finding one that there was just females that were sitting out there suspended in that timber. And, they do that here on our lakes too in Arkansas, and it's just something I felt comfortable doing. And, so I found those fish out there deep, which was, oddly enough, I was like the only person doing that.
Which is crazy, number one, that you're the only person doing that, but just, it's so awesome that you found something that off the wall. You know what I mean? Like, It's not, because it's pretty typical, but for there,
Yeah.
it was a little bit off.
Yeah, and the fact that I was using a spinning rod,
Right.
in that stuff. But the drop shot, just I love it. I've probably won more money on a drop shot than anything else, and I love it for smallmouth fishing. But yeah, I that was just kind of a confidence bait for me, and I beefed up my line, because we had so much timber and stuff, and kind of got a little heavier approach to it. But the finesse it's so good. A lot of people don't, think, oh, well, spinning rod's a sissy rod or something like that,
Right.
But man, you can catch so many big fish on a spinning rod, that, I'm sure. But yeah, so it just worked out where the fish stayed. I really thought in that tournament that those fish were going to go spawn, and everything I had out there was going to leave me. I didn't think it was going to withstand for 4 days. But it ended up working out really good, and actually had fish coming out that were that had already spawned that was coming out. One day I had almost 21 pounds of post spawn fish, so spawned out fish, and but yeah, that was it, man. I was on a little spot where the creek channel swang in really close to a spawning flat in the edge of the hydrilla, and I was just staying right out there on that creek channel, and man, just looking at them on the forward facing sonar, dropping it down there, and they bit, and there was a lot of good ones.
Were you catching them on bottom, or were you suspending? Did you have to stop it on them when they bite it, or you drop it past them? They go?
Yeah, so they were most of the fish were probably 3 or 4 foot off the bottom. I mean, they weren't laying on the bottom or anything.
But they weren't up way high.
No, they weren't up high. I was fishing 20 to 22 foot of water, and they were mostly suspended about 3 or 4 foot just around really big trees, the base of trees. Some of them would be up a little higher, but if they were, midway in the column, about 10 foot, they would still follow it down all the way to the bottom, and then they would eat. I think I caught one 4-pounder that was up there kind of high. I threw my drop shot. I was just messing around. I didn't think it was a big fish, and it ate it. I was jiggling in front of his face, keeping it up, and the fish ate it. So, but yeah, most of them were on the bottom.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I turned on day 3 or whatever, and I knew you were doing well, but I didn't really know how.
Right.
I turned on live. I'm like, what is he doing?
Yeah. You didn't expect to see that, did you?
No, but that's what wins tournaments. I mean, finding that, I did it, and it's just a local, but I did it in a Mr. Bass on Millwood where I caught him on a crankbait that, everybody was talking about frogs and swim jigs, and I found fish leaving spawning areas on shell, and it just waxed them on a crankbait all day long. But that to me is those hard to find. You don't find that very often. A lot of tournaments go by that nobody finds that out of the way thing, but that is how you win, man.
No, absolutely. And I talked to Brandon Polinick, which is really cool. I got to meet him. He came up and congratulated me. A couple other big name guys came up to me and were like, Joey, man, I was actually tried that in practice, but I just wasn't, I didn't really hit the right spot. So I think I think I'd actually kind of hit the right area. Because I tried it in a bunch of different other places and it was smaller fish. So yeah, trying something different, but you got to get that little honey hole,
You got to land on the right group, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So
what you mentioned smallmouth. You love smallmouth. You've done very well in the past up north.
Yeah.
Why do the Arkansas guys, man, Dylan, Spencer, Larry, what makes it? And it's not just, but we've got a group of guys here that just excel when they go north. And what is that? Why is that?
I've been asked this question so many times. I don't really know. I can tell you that we have smallmouth, here. Obviously, we got them in Greer's, but they're small. I always try and go catch smallmouth. A lot of times, but they're just something cool about them. I don't know if it's something that we're not used to catching big ones. So when we go up there, we're just maybe we got more drive to catch the smallmouth or something. I look forward to those tournaments every year just because we always catch smaller smallmouth and man, I get to catch 4-pounders, or 3-pounders. Hey, this is sweet, So I don't know the answer to that, except that Greer's Ferry is really tough, and maybe that gets us dialed in on some of that, and all these guys around here fish Greer's, and Bull Shoals got some nice smallmouth too, but I don't know. We just I don't even know.
We're pretty excited about 2.5-pounders when we go to Greer's.
Oh yeah,
I saw you a while back, and that's this, spring at Greer's. black largemouth will usually win, but I can't stand it. Like if I go, I'm going.
Yeah, you want to go catch smallmouth, right?
Yeah, like I can go catch largemouth anywhere else.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
but that's it for smallmouth around here.
Right.
Close.
I was texting one of my buddies the other day, and he was like, "Man, he was calling me like, hey, how do I go catch some smallmouth on Greer's?" And he's like, I just need it for my soul, I just want to go catch some smallmouth because he lives in Russellville. He only fishes Dardanelle all the time, so he didn't get to catch smallmouth. But yeah, we just something about it, man. Love it.
Hey, and brag on Greer's a little bit. They're getting bigger. Like they're not pound and a half fish anymore. There's a lot of 2 to 3 pounders.
Yeah, there are. They're coming around. I'm really surprised though. There's not a lot more bigger fish there, because they've been in there for a while. But it is coming around. I think there is a good future for Greer's Ferry, and there's some people that are working hard to get it coming back. So it's good.
Absolutely, that's where I usually end up if I'm home. I feel like every weekend there's a lot more benefits up there than there used to be. So I'm up there quite a bit. It's getting better. I feel like every year. So.
Yeah.
What tournaments are you looking forward to on the elites this year?
Well, the only 3 tournaments I was looking forward to is the last 3, and that's on St. Clair and Lake Champlain and the St. Lawrence River, just because I get to go smallmouth fishing again.
Will you do smallmouth at Champlain? You think or?
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%.
Yeah, I'm not going after largemouth. No, if I catch one, it'll be on accident. Yep.
Man, so goals.
Okay, so yeah, goals. This year, my goal was to make a top 10. Check. My goal I've got a whiteboard in my shop. I write all my goals down. Goal was to win a tournament. Obviously, that's number 1 wrote up there. Check. The other thing now is to make the Bassmaster Classic. I mean, it's going to be on Grand Lake, which is not very far from us.
Right.
And I've been on that lake. I haven't fished in a while, but I've done well there a few times. I like the lake. It would be a great opportunity for me to make that and maybe have a chance. Another one of my goals: win a Bassmaster Classic. Now it's a new one I just wrote on my board. Didn't have it wrote down because I wanted to focus on winning that first tournament. But yeah, man, want to win the Bassmaster Classic next year. Absolutely. There's no doubt I can do it. But yeah, just for the rest of this season is to stay in that top 40 in the points. Another one I wrote down is Rookie of the Year. I don't think it really gets you anything, but I think it'd be something good on the resume and first season out there, win that. So that'd be pretty cool.
You've got to be high. Where are you at right now on the points after 2?
Third.
Third.
Yeah, third in the points. Pretty sure third in the points. So as far as like overall points.
Yes.
Overall points. I think that Japanese guy, somebody calls him Fajita. I don't know I think it's Vegeta is what it is.
Yeah.
But he's a super nice guy. He got second there at Seminole. Shook his hand when I won. But I think he's a rookie, and I think he's leading the Rookie of the Year points. Pretty sure. So yeah, I think he did really well. It's at Lake Okeechobee.
And it's crazy, a first and 20th at the first at Okeechobee. Is that what you said you were?
Yeah, I was top 20. I think 14th or 16th or something like that.
I mean, and not be leading at all. I mean, that shows you how good those guys are.
Oh,
that you can average.
No, yeah.
Not lead, and which is just 2 tournaments, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, to have that high finish twice and
yeah,
be looking up at somebody.
Third in the points. Yeah. No, these guys are good, man. I mean, the competition's high. I mean, everybody worked hard to get to where they're at, and they're all very good anglers. There's no doubt.
Absolutely. What do you have any advice you'd give young folks coming up? They're wanting to fish, or
yeah. I was talking to a young man the other day about it. I would try and start co-angling. Get in the back of a boat, and like I said earlier. What you want to do is your goal needs to be to try and learn. Like you're not going to be successful in anything you do overnight. It's going to take time. So like if you're not doing well and you're failing and you're not, you want to take it as a learning experience. Get in the back of a boat with somebody that you can learn a lot from and go fish those tournaments out the back. Try and do well. Gather that knowledge. Travel around. Like if you're in Arkansas or whatever state you're in. Try and see your lakes, okay? Then take the next step up to boater on those tournaments. You know what I mean? Just work your way up. I think that's the best way to do it. And And obviously if you can find somebody like, you know, a legend in the sport like Larry Nixon and get in the boat with him, don't be afraid to ask somebody that, or do whatever you can to get that done, because that's what it takes, man. I mean, it's not something, like I said, that happens overnight. You have to really work hard at it, and you know, I mean, it was kind of happenstance that I got put there in that situation, but with Larry. But you know, that's how sometimes things works out, and so it's, yeah, just do that. And then now we got college and high school, and like, I mean, these kids are starting. I didn't have any of that when I started out, you know, but. So that's always great, you know. It's a lot more competitive now to get to the highest level, but you know, you stay positive and work hard, man. You can do anything. So
absolutely,
yeah.
So you mentioned you like the drop shot a lot, especially when it gets tough. I assume that's something you probably gathered as a co-angler a little bit, that you start throwing it more. But when you get to maybe a really tough tournament, what else besides that drop shot do you pull out?
Yeah, so my number one confidence, like when it's tough, is a shaky head. I think as a co-angler, I think I probably won more money on that bait. Something that I always had tied on, you know, is a shaky head. Just something about it. It's a little worm, and the bass eat it. Like it's great, you know. I mean, and you can catch really big fish on a shaky head, especially when fish are spawning and stuff, especially in our lakes here. But yeah, drop shot would definitely be. Anything with a spinning rod, though, man, like wacky rig. I mean, just, you know, I love using a spinning rod.
Is drop shot be your favorite as well, or is there something you're like, man, I love when I get to throw a frog?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love using bait casters and throwing a frog. You know, like, yeah, I do like that, but I really tend, now that where I'm at in my career, I feel like I want to fish offshore more. I feel more comfortable there. I can fish and skip docks and do all that stuff like with the best of them, but I tend to kind of veer to the offshore thing and do the more finesse approach. And I think Larry Nixon had a lot of influence on that, because that's kind of what he did, you know, on me. And so that's kind of what I like to lean to.
So without getting into just a big debate like people do on these forward facings,
yeah,
how much has that helped or hurt you? Has it helped because for offshore? Has it helped because it's easier to see what you're doing, or is it hurt because now everyone can see how to fish offshore a lot easier?
No, I mean it's definitely helped. I mean, and it's just another tool. Like you can't make every fish that you see on LiveScope bite. You know, I mean, so it's just another tool to locate bass. Yeah, it's live, and you can see them swimming around, you know. Yeah. You can sit there and cast at the same fish multiple times. But yeah, no, it's definitely helped. But there is pressure. I really honestly feel that in certain situations that the bass they know that thing's shining on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had that the other day somewhere. The first time I was like, I feel like, yeah. Like I'd hit them and they just leave.
And I tell you what, I turn it, when I go shallow, I completely turn it off.
That's what I do.
Do not want that thing on at all. Real shallow, you know. I mean, you can catch fish shallow in LiveScope too, but yeah, it's I think there's going to be more pressure. I mean, and they're going to know it, I think, eventually. But you know, you always got new fish coming in too, so I don't know. But it's definitely 100% helped.
Yes.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's, if nothing else, efficiency. For me, I mean, it's like, man, yeah. I know I'm making the throw I need to make.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not throwing that fish, you know, I know that bait's going in the middle of a pile or whatever it is, yeah. You know. So, talk about the hard work it takes. You know, I mean, you made the elites or one series of the opens, which is incredible, but there's so many people that there's more than fishing talent is what I'm getting at here. It comes down to that. What else does it take? I mean, how much dedication does it take?
Yeah, I mean, anything you want to do in life, you have to put, you know, 100% of your time in, and you got to work hard at it, without a doubt. But you know, I'm a firm believer that God's put me where I'm at today, and there's no doubt in my mind that He has a huge part in my success, and so I think that's the most important thing to me. But yeah, you have to surround yourself with positive people and people that want you to achieve your goals. because you don't have to be the best fisherman out there to, with all the, techniques and stuff like that. I think if you have a good attitude, you're going to be successful, and surround yourself with positive people that support you, and do anything you can to try and achieve that goal and to get to where you're at. If you really truly do that, you're going to be successful and you're going to get there 100%.
We had Jay Ellis on an earlier podcast, and he said something I never heard it talked about that way, but he was a West Coast guy, and he moved to Texas when he decided he was going to do this thing full time, and he said, I treated it like I was training for an Olympic sport. Like, it takes that kind of determination to be at the level you need to be at to succeed doing it. And that was, like, I get it. It takes a high level, but I've never heard anybody compare it to training to an Olympic sport, but that's what it is, man. You eat whatever. You work at real hard.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's kind of hard to explain to people that don't follow bass fishing. Like, they think, oh, we just go out there and cast our rod and hope we catch a fish. Like, there is so much that goes into bass fishing. I mean, it's endless, really. I mean, the details you put into baits and changing hooks and line size. Like, a lot of people don't think about those things, So, there's so much that goes into it, from not only from your fishing, but like your boat and the electronics, and like I rig my own boats, like little details that can set you apart from the competition. Those are the things that people don't think about, but you have to be thinking about those things all the time, to be successful.
And the memories and the learning, it compiles. I mean, the more years you do it, the more times you go to a lake, you just remember, I mean, you rig your stuff to be the best it can be, but then it's just time on the water. I mean, now you're going to lakes for the most part you've been to before. You're not having to see a lot of new water.
Yeah, some of them. I got a few new ones, this year, but yeah, it's a lot of preparation.
A lot of study, a lot of preparation.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's your earliest memory of catching a fish?
So I got a pretty good one, and it's not a freshwater fish. I grew up in Florida. This is a saltwater story. So I'm down on the west coast of Florida, a little town called Homosassa Springs. It's not little anymore, but when I was a kid, we went out red fishing with a guide, and we got back in to the dock, and I was so like, I wanted to catch fish like nonstop. So when we got done fishing, like, the guy would be filleting the redfish, and he'd be throwing the scraps, and there'd be these really big fish like coming up, like eating the scraps. And I'm like, I asked my dad, I said, hey, can he get me a rod like with hook on? I just want to try and catch one. So he put me a little piece of meat on there. I dropped it down. Well, I hung one, and it just went like that, and it went underneath the dock and just broke me off. And I was like, man, can you get me another hook? So he got me another hook, and I hooked this fish, okay? And essentially, it's a really, like, giant jack, okay? I don't know if people are familiar with jacks, but they're just a really fast, like, they pull hard, and it's crazy. So where we were in this little river, okay? It's very short. There's restaurants on the side. There's people, like, everywhere lounging around, eating food, having a good time, bands playing, big crowds of people, okay? So I hook this fish, and it goes across, and there's boats going by, and so like there's people stopping. They see me fighting this really big fish. Well, this guy pulls up, and he's in a little flats boat, and he says, "Hey, get on my boat. Let's get this thing," So I hop on the boat, and so I'm fighting this jack, and like it felt like 30 minutes, but it was probably like 5 or 10 minutes. I'm fighting this thing, and it was pretty big, and all these people in the bank are like cheering me on. I think I'm like maybe 14 years old or so. And so I'm fighting this fish. People are cheering me. I land the fish. Everybody goes crazy in the crowd, like all around, on the banks and everything. They're like, yeah. And then so I take a picture, and they put my picture up on the little bait store there. And that was just like something I'll never forget as a kid, like all those people cheering me on, fishing. So it's kind of cool because like I'm doing that now, and people are doing the same thing. But it's that's one of the fish catches I'll never forget.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about memories of best memory of tournament fishing and worst? Unless you don't want to talk about worse, and we won't go there.
Yeah, no, we can talk about that. So obviously, I think the best memory of tournament fishing is my recent win on Lake Seminole. I mean, it's not very many people. I mean, there's a lot of people that'll fish their career as a Bassmaster Elite Series angler, and they won't ever win an Elite Series event. So
look at Gerald Swindle. I mean, one of the best.
Yeah,
he's never won an Elite.
Yeah, so I mean, it's something I'm very thankful for, and it was the height of my career and the biggest tournament I've ever won. So,
right.
But yeah, we should talk about the worst. I was on the St. Lawrence River, had a 7-pound lead going into the last day, and if you don't know, a 7-pound lead on the St. Lawrence River is massive.
Huge.
Okay, it's huge because everybody's going to catch them, and if you have that kind of lead, like, you're for sure winning. Okay, so I go out that last day, and I'm not going to lie to you, I spun out. Like, it was the first big tournament that I was leading. I did things I should have never done. I left my area. I freaked out. Just totally just lost it. And I ended up losing that tournament. I don't know, I think I finished 3rd or 4th, and that was just really devastating, devastating time. But you know what? I learned a lot because that helped me get through this last Bassmaster Elite Series win. I mean, you have to go through those things.
You have to know how to lose before you know how to win.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. So, outside of fishing, what's some of your hobbies you really enjoy?
So probably my main thing is I like to take a break from fishing in the fall. Like, don't touch a rod probably for 3 months. I like to be in the woods. I like to just sit out there, and I do like to kill big deer. That's my goal. But my real passion is bow hunting. I love to bow hunt. I've been fortunate to kill some really nice deer with a bow. Last year I went to Colorado and got to kill the biggest elk I've ever killed. First elk I've ever killed with a bow. Killed a 365-inch bull.
Holy
crazy
cow.
Double beams on one side, just crazy, man. But yeah, hunting it's kind of funny because Larry Nixon says, like, the guys that are kind of in tune with nature. It's kind of out there a little bit, but like
it's almost Rick Clunish, isn't it?
Yeah, but like, they're good at fishing too, like
right.
I don't know, it's just like if you're in the woods and like I said, for me, I like to take a breakaway from fishing. I don't know, like, do you do that too?
Absolutely. I do not want to hear the word fish for 3 months.
Yeah, really.
Do not talk to me about a bass for 3 months.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Love deer hunting.
Yeah, and I noticed that. I mean, it's really impressive to me how, like, you shoot a bow. I mean,
yeah.
That's just like I've watched it on your socials and stuff like that. Like, that's really cool. Like, what's your biggest deer? Or,
man, my biggest deer is a 141-inch 10. I killed in Texas. I've killed 5 over 130 in Arkansas, which I think is pretty decent.
With your
deer.
bow?
No,
oh,
that's
okay.
just in general.
Well, I mean, that's still pretty good. That's still pretty good.
Yeah. So I do like bow hunting. My biggest issue with bow hunting is the places I go, I've got set up for gun and muzzleloader to where I can pull a four-wheeler up under a stand and the four-wheeler's hid, and I climb up, get high, and can hunt by myself. With a bow, it's hard to get one to walk within 25 yards of a four-wheeler.
Yeah.
So somebody needs to be with me
right.
to kind of dump me off and take the four-wheeler with them, because that's how I get out there. So I don't bow hunt as much. Plus, a lot of times, I don't know, man, bow season, we're still fishing, trying to finish up, when it opens, and I don't. When muzzleloading comes in, I want to shoot as far as a muzzleloader, not a bow. So I hunt whatever season it is, and most of my big deer have been taken with a gun or a muzzleloader.
Yeah.
But I've killed one buck with my bow. I've killed I don't know how many does. We did the urban hunt me and my cousin did the urban hunt at Heber for a year, and we killed a bunch of deer.
Oh,
But one good buck with my bow. Killed it in Ohio. I met some friends. I actually talked about this in another episode. Met some friends through fishing that I go to their house and hang out for a week every year and get to bow hunt in Ohio. And man, it's awesome. If I hadn't shot my stand last year, I would have killed another really good buck with a bow. But
right.
I might have shot the edge of the stand when I released.
Yeah. Well, I know you don't like to talk about it, but what you do and everything you do, and the fishing and hunting and the things that you can accomplish is really an inspiration to a lot of people. So
I appreciate that.
I think that's really cool. It just shows that, no matter what you put your mind to, you can do it. And that's something really positive that people need to hear right now. And so I applaud you for that, man. It's really cool.
Thank you very much. It's good Lord takes care of me and
Absolutely.
lets me do whatever I need to do, man.
Yeah.
Chase a deer, catch a fish every once in a while.
Yeah.
What's your biggest deer?
My biggest deer is a deer I killed in Kansas. It was like 168. Actually killed, but my real prize deer I killed is on public ground on the White River Refuge in southern Arkansas. You know where the White River Refuge is, down by Truss and Holder in that area of eastern Arkansas. I went down there with it, was going the first time we ever went down there, got a group of 4 or 5 buddies, got in a spot, scouted that morning. That evening, got in the stand right at dark. I shoot a deer I could barely see. I knew he had horns, and I shot him, and ended up walking up on that deer, and it was a 8-point that scored 160 inches.
Holy cow. That's a giant 8-point.
Which is a giant 8-point. And it's really cool. I got to do it with my friends, but like the fact that I did it on public ground with a bow and killed that class of an 8-point or any 160-inch deer is huge anywhere you go. But I'll never forget that hunt. That was really cool.
That's a giant.
Yeah, he was a giant. And the funny thing is one of my buddies is on the hunting forums in Arkansas all the time, and he put the picture up, and a guy had game camera pictures of that deer on private land like 5 or 6 miles away. So that buck was going into the bottoms like breeding does. And
Really?
He just so happened came by me at the right time. It was kind of cool. So
Wow.
Yeah.
I killed one, talk about game camera pictures. I killed one a few years ago, and it was, I don't know, it was like 135, I don't know, just a decent deer with a rifle. But it had shrunk for what it was going downhill. It was old. And my buddy, actually, the neighbor to where we killed it, he talked to me. He had found the sheds, and it was the sheds without your width, but the sheds were like 168 the year before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he lost like 30 inches.
Oh, that's terrible.
So,
yeah, he was going downhill.
yeah, so that's probably my biggest deer, but not really. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, did he give you the sheds?
No,
Oh.
my buddy's like, I think it needs to hold them at some point. I'm like, yeah, I'd like to see them. But
Yeah, that'd make you sick. But,
yeah, maybe
but-
I don't want to see them.
No, that's pretty cool. That's cool.
It was actually White River, and it's something I don't do very often. It was a disabled hunt, and that's just like I get to go hunt, so I try to leave those alone for those that don't have anywhere else to hunt, But it's called a lifetime hunt. You only get drawn on it once. It's Cooks Lake down there on the White River.
Yeah.
And my buddy is actually over the Cooks Lake program. He's not the one that does the drawing. Like, there was nothing rigged. But when he shares trail camera pictures with me all the time.
Yeah.
Because he's the one running the cameras and stuff. And it's like one of the biggest deer they'd ever had on camera. And he had told me, like for a couple of years I'd put my name in. He was like, maybe one day, because Federal's who draws it, like the national, wildlife, whatever. And he was like, maybe one day you get drawn, come down here and hunt. So I get drawn. I've seen pictures of this deer for like 2 years. I see 5 deer in 3 days, and one of them's that deer. The last morning that deer walked out, and I'm like, holy crap, that's the deer that I've looked at pictures of for 2 years, not knowing I'd ever even be able to hunt him, much less get to kill him. He was 150 yards eating acorns. I'm like, oh, I think I can kill him, so
Yeah.
pretty cool deal.
That is cool.
Well, Joey, I really appreciate having you on. Tell everybody where they can find you, where to follow along.
Yeah, so you can find me, Joey Cifuentes Fishing, at Joey Cifuentes Fishing, anywhere, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, all the social medias. Started trying to put a few little YouTube videos out there, so I got the YouTube channel. But if you just type in my name with fishing on the back, you'll find me. And look for the cowboy hat.
That's right. Well, Joey, we're looking forward for you qualifying for your first classic next year and get to see you fish that.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely look forward to it. Just got to keep catching them.
That's right. That's just 5 fish a day is all you need.
Yeah, 5 big ones.
Well, I appreciate it, Joey, very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank y'all so much for following along. This is our final episode of Season 1. Go check us out at Hunter Fishes on all the socials. Check out Stick 5 Rods on all the socials, and we'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much.